I was just getting this thing recording. So, man, yeah, that's a long drive. How are you doing, Kimberly?
I'm doing well. I've been busy. I am taking a mixed class. It's with the same man that I've been working with,
Nice.
and it's working on a mix now that is kind of exciting. It's a blues track, and it's got a lot of space for some creative ideas.
Nice.
With the it's got some reverse snare in it and everything.
Cool.
And then I worked a lot on God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, and I think I've got it pretty well produced. I still want to change up the instrumentation on the bridge because I don't. That's the only place I just don't want acoustic guitar, just to give a rest from the acoustic
Sure.
guitar. Away in the manger, I'm working on a cello part with that, and then I want to collaborate with that one. I need to get better at collaborating. So
Yeah.
once I get the cello part ready, I'm gonna start sending it out to some vocalists and see if I can collaborate with somebody else to sing, have somebody else sing on it.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, yeah, you've been productive this week. That's really good.
Trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I do have a quick question. I
Yeah.
also am in a mixed group with some ladies. It's a just kind of a female mixed group that Patty Boss put together. And again, I tried to share my Pro Tools screen on this past weekend, and they could not hear my audio. But it's odd because my Pro Tools session, but they could hear my audio in the when I would play Spotify.
Hmm.
They could hear if I shared my Spotify screen, they could hear that through
Yeah.
and I was using my Lynx Hilo,
Yeah.
but I can't get it to talk with Pro
Was
Tools.
was it Zoom that you were on? Was it a Zoom
Yes.
call? So, uh, what I have to do is I have to go up to what is it? Hold on, let me just open because I don't remember what the I'm opening Pro Tools right now because I don't
Okay.
remember what the drop down windows are called. Just one second. I think it's setup. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, setup, and then playback engine, and then you'll switch it to um, something. Hold on, waiting.
Mhm.
Any minute now. Any day now. It's like Zoom. I think it might be called Zoom audio device.
Yeah, and see that doesn't show up in my Pro Tools session for some reason.
Let me think here.
I have, yeah, I have my Windows audio device. And, the funny thing is when I go to Zoom and look at the audio, what it's using for audio there, it shows the Lynx Hilo,
Hmm.
but the Lynx Hilo doesn't show up in my drop down menu for playback engine. So I'm not sure
Let's see here.
how to troubleshoot that.
Yeah, I've
And
got.
that may be something I just need to work, kind of not take up class time for, but
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's a valid question. And it might actually be good to figure out anyway because even on these calls for these office hours calls, it'd be good if you could ever share your Pro Tools window if you ever need help with anything.
yes.
Um, I actually just did like a complete reinstall of my system, and I was trying to remember like just a few weeks ago, and I don't remember having to install that Zoom driver by itself. I thought that it was included with yeah, with the Zoom install, but I'm trying to think where it might be. Let me just do a quick Google search. Zoom audio device driver.
I never thought about that. May not have the driver for
Are
it.
you on a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
That might be different because Mac and Windows handle audio differently. Like there's a whole thing with like Mac computers where Mac doesn't share audio nicely, and so there's all these kind of like driver workarounds.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I've yeah, let me get back to you on that. I'll try and help
Yeah.
you do that. But I know on Mac it's the yeah, it was called Zoom audio device.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That's that gives me something to start with as far as the driver goes. So I'll research that a little bit, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. One other question: when you did do the share window, did you click the share computer audio share, the
Yes,
little check boxes down at the bottom? Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that, and I'll see what I can
Thank you.
help you find. Yeah. Look at all these people showing up. It's almost like they're quarantined or something, and they got
As
nothing better.
usual, as usual, musicians are ahead of the curve. We're, we're working remotely here.
Yeah, yeah. I just saw something that was like a little meme that said, "I just realized that my normal schedule is called being quarantined."
It was pretty weird. I work in a casino, right? And so last night was our last night, and we closed and everything. And it was surreal. I mean, it's like everybody's like, well, I guess maybe I'll see you in 30 days, maybe. And,
Right.
shutting everything down and walking outside. It was a ghost town. And it was emphasized by having like a big fog over everything. So it was just the most surreal thing.
Right. Where do you live in? You're in Colorado?
Yeah, right. And so we have a couple of what were big mining towns that were allowed to have gambling in them. So we have pretty big casinos, actually.
Yeah.
Ernest, I have a lot of family in Colorado. I used to live there. We moved to Texas from Littleton.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I love Colorado.
Mm-hmm. See, when I was a little kid, we moved from San Antonio to Colorado. We went the right direction.
A lot of places.
There's a lot of people with like Texas connections. Zion's got Texas connections. Kenneth does too, right?
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
my hometown is in East Texas. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope everybody has disinfected your microphones and speakers so that we don't catch anything today.
Yeah, we don't want to be spreading any viruses, right? Oh man, who else have I not talked to? Anybody else got projects that they're working on?
Someday I'll unbury myself from the projects that are on my desktop. Like, you know how like you walk into somebody's office and it's like it looks like a hoarder lives there. That's what my desktop lives.
Yeah, there's definitely times when my desktop gets a little out of control. Because I always have this like anxiety that like if it's something that I don't want to forget about, if I remove it from my desktop or even just put it in a folder, then it's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind, and I'll forget about it. So, yeah.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And then the first day of like, hey, all your work is canceled. Cool. I'm going to organize my desktop.
Yeah, that's what you
I
do.
did.
Yeah.
I felt very productive. I didn't get paid for it, but
Right.
it was very productive.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So are either of you guys working on anything right now in your downtime? I know, Katie, you're like you're super like independent musician and actress, and everything's shut down for you, right? As you stare nervously at the screen.
You see the look of
Yeah.
not panic on my face. Like everything's fine. Everything's great.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to fill the time?
Well.
I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm not like I'm not like Dad. Be like, what are you doing with your life, Katie?
I'm trying. I've been not going to the grocery store, so
All right.
that's one.
There you go.
No, I've actually been like just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like, when you're like, oh, I wish I had more time on my hands. I would clean this corner of my house or, organize these papers or whatever. I'm like, just, I feel like if you clean stuff, then you kind of like clear the energy anyway. So I'm just kind of like, yeah. And then it was raining here in LA anyway. So, I was just kind of like been spring cleaning, I guess.
Yeah.
And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently,
Yeah.
it's really big to 5-year-olds. My son woke up like super early this morning, and we took a walk around the neighborhood to try and find leprechauns.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day today.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah, I've just been doing that and like kind of brainstorming on some things. Some people had some very colorful ideas of what they thought I should do for work.
All right.
I don't want that to come out wrong. I just mean like, they're like, oh, you should go, work in like the nurse's office. I'm sure they need an administrative assistant. I'm like, let me throw myself into the middle of it. Like,
Right.
like, I mean, that's fine, I guess. But,
Sure.
it's just, I feel like that's what, my family thinks of me. They're like, yeah, you should go where it's like the most intense.
You can handle it. You're fine.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll come out. And if you get it, you'll probably be fine. Thanks, Dad.
Right. Still young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Did I see a post that you were like offering like kind of there was like a few people that were doing it, but like the remote recording, like doing vocal sections remotely and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put that in my skills.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do actually have one that came in, so that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really, this is like going off like on a little bit of a tangent, but I'm really interested to see what happens and what changes after this whole thing kind of clears. Like I was thinking that, like, for example, if those services like DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub, all those like food delivery services hadn't blown up like over the last 2 years, this would have been like the prime time for something like that to be invented. Like food delivery, like that's like it was made for moments like this. And I think that like I'm just curious like kind of what other like like industry like
What are
develop.
you going to invent?
Yeah, not me. I'm not doing nothing. But yeah, there's tons of potential, I think. There's a lot of people with downtime that are going to be working on passion projects.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be
You see everybody's passion project.
Yeah.
Everybody's going live.
Everybody's going to go live with their passion project.
Live concerts and live, know.
Yeah.
Ah, Katie, you're young and healthy, and you've got charms. It would really be a sin not to have you in my arms.
Ah, that's sweet.
Yeah, for the last like month and a half, I mean, I've been in rehab hell because like my dad had a stroke, and then the day after that, my mother-in-law broke her kneecap. Right. And one is down in Colorado Springs and one is up here in Denver. So, when I'm not with one at rehab, I was down with the other one, and fortunately we got my dad. He's out of rehab now. But like this last week, I spent 2 days doing his taxes with him. It was so frustrating because, I would ask him about something and 20, and he would say, oh, well, gee, I'm not really sure. And so I'd start trying to figure stuff out on the websites and all this stuff. And then 20 minutes later, oh, I do this because da, 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 da. So, it was brutal. So between those things, I mean, I look at my chart of how much time I've spent doing music and triple threat things, and man, just like fell off a cliff. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but in a way, this may be a really good time for me.
Yeah, there's definitely silver linings to this. Yeah, that's a bummer about your parents though. My mom had both of her knees replaced last year, so I can definitely relate to.
Yeah, and it was so weird because I mean, she didn't fall, nothing hit her. Her she just was going up the stairs and her kneecap broke.
Wow,
that was it. Just unbelievable.
Man, that's scary. Man.
It was.
Yeah. What about you, Mark Stone? Other than having a messy desktop, are you working on anything? Anything super fun?
That's kind of why my desktop is messy.
Oh, because you're
I'm working on everything,
right.
right? Right. And not finishing enough,
Yeah.
right? So like that's where that's at. I've got like a bunch of ongoing projects and nothing finished. So I'm quarantined for the next,
Yeah.
it seems like destiny.
You know what's funny? Um, so this goes back to Ernest. I think Ernest last week or the week before uh mentioned the podcast, the one with Rick Rubin. What was that one called?
Broken Record.
Broken Record. And I started listening to it, and it's really good. And one of the ones that I listened to was the one with Bon Iver.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was a good one. And the funny thing is as I was listening to it, I couldn't remember what Bon Iver looked like. And so, like, I must just be like a visual thinker, because a lot of times, like, I'll have to put like a face to the voice that I'm listening to. And wait, did Kenneth just, or not Kenneth? Oh no, everybody just rearranged on my screen. I couldn't find you for a second. So I couldn't remember what Bon Iver looked like, and but he was talking about living in Wisconsin, and he recorded like his hit album like in like a hunting cabin of his dad's in Wisconsin, like out in the woods, like super rural. Like he just took out a laptop and like a 2-channel M box out there and just like recorded the whole thing like in isolation. And I remember the first time that I met Mark Stone, you were kind of like out in a cabin somewhere, like on a vacation. And so basically what I'm saying is, like, the whole time I was listening to this podcast, I was just imagining Mark Stone, like your face was Bon Iver. I don't know if that was
Could you please imagine Bon Iver's money in Mark's account, please?
yeah. We need some of that happening too. Yeah, but just basically everything that Bon Iver was talking about was like, man, that sounds like Mark Stone's path. So who knows? You might be writing a hit album and you don't even know it.
So we've been watching Josh for
I
your
hope that's
Toyota
true.
commercial.
We'll find
Anything?
out.
Anything happening with your Toyota commercial yet?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I've got this. Hold on. Sorry. I've got this this website that I use called TuneSat, and I think I've talked about it before. You can upload songs, and they monitor TV networks and stuff like that. And so I use that to let me know when a song is hitting the airwaves, and it has not come up for me yet. So I don't think that commercial has gone live. I don't think it's been on TV yet. It might just be web based right now. But it's interesting. Yeah, it's not showing up. It's interesting that I've had like a few of these like commercial syncs, and the commercial syncs are kind of bigger money. I don't get it all, but they're paying out a lot of money that goes to the agent and all the rights holders and stuff like that. And it's funny that like they pay this money out and then they like sit on it. They pay for like the license for a year, and you would think that if you're paying like $30K for a license to use a song for a year, you would be like on it, start it from like day one, and like you would get it for have it airing for the full year. But these companies don't. They'll like be like, yeah, let's start the license now and we'll start airing it in like a month or two. We'll just do it down the road. And they've like wasted all that money. It's interesting. So
That is kind of shocking. I mean, especially when you think about film composers and how they're still making edits and doing film stuff like, till the day they're almost ready to release the movie.
I know. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's this business is always surprising me with their inefficiencies and procrastinations. It's funny. Yeah, I was just reading through your comments here. Yeah. Let me see here. There's somebody else. Oh, is it Wani or Yeah, Wani?
Hi.
Hey, there you are. I don't think I've gotten to talk to you yet. How you doing?
I know, I'm good.
Nice.
I'm just kind of like camera shy, and I was cooking breakfast like a few minutes earlier.
Oh, no, that's fine. No, it's good.
But I kind of also want to say hi to everybody. I'm not always present during office hours because I have work.
Yeah,
But since of what's going on, I'm at home right now, so I get to join you guys.
that's awesome. Where are you from? Where are you living?
I'm in Washington, where most of the deaths are.
Right, right. So,
And I have a kid who's being loud right now.
yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. You got a co-singer,
Yeah.
collaborator.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, whenever you feel like jumping in or whatever, yeah, I'd love to hear about like what you're working on and
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, you know what? I'm still working on a demo that started during production playground.
oh, cool.
So, so maybe just a little, I'm just gonna fix a little bit more, and then I'm gonna like share it and ask for feedback. And that's gonna be my first ever.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. So I know it's not gonna be like that good, but I'm gonna interested on how, you know, how it's gonna turn out and what feedback I can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. What was like? Oh, really quick, what DAW are you using?
Logic.
Logic. Okay, cool. We got a couple of Logic people in here. Very nice.
Mhm.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing it. I want to hear what you've done. What
Thank
instrument
you.
do you play?
I'm not really an expert to any instrument. I can play a little bit of like everything, just like uh, a newbie too.
Yeah,
although I grew up, you know, like playing the guitar, but it's just enough to you know, to accompany my singing.
sure.
So I'm kind of interested to be an expert to synth just like Zion, because maybe that might be the like the easiest to maybe to be an expert with.
Yeah. Very, very,
Yeah.
very nice. All right, awesome. Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you've started. This is gonna be cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Hey Josh, did you listen to the latest Song Exploder podcast?
I have not. I've been behind on my.
Well, just as you were thinking of Mark Stone on the Broken Record one, I was thinking of you on this one because it's a Korean American
That makes sense.
singer, and but the producer took sounds of like a muted piano where he'd pluck the strings while he was holding the string down in the piano, and he recorded all that stuff, and then he chopped them up and spliced them around and used it like a percussive thing, and it was just, you know, just made me think of some of the little tricks that you guys do in here sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. What hold on, I'm all curious. What do you remember what episode of Song Exploder that was?
It's the most recent one. And Eric, I think his name is Eric Nam.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many good podcasts out right now. It's difficult for me to keep up. Yeah. Mark J, what are you doing?
Keep 'em busy writing. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something come up with me. I'm helping some people out on final mix on a CD they're working on,
Nice.
and it's in Pro Tools. And well, first, I'm probably not clear on this, but when you create a bus, what we tried to do is take 3 vocals and put them to an auxiliary bus.
Mm-hmm.
And you want a stereo bus, right?
Yeah.
Not a mono. When you're creating a bus, you want a stereo bus, right? I
Yeah.
think we might have made a mistake there, but when we went to send the vocals to that bus, the person who recorded this, there's a lot of automation on the editing.
Okay.
And then when we went to send the vocal to that bus, it said your automation will be lost if you complete this if you do that, you know, if you send the output to that bus. And it's unusual. It's never happened to me before, and I was just totally baffled. And we kind of went on to something else because we're like, you know, I'll, you know, do some research and figure this out. But
Uh, yeah, I've got a thought. Are any of the vocal tracks, do they happen to be stereo tracks?
you know, I'll have to go back and check because I didn't create it, but I don't think they are. Is that something that would?
Occasionally, when I get tracks from other people, they'll like export, like they'll export like their vocal track, and somehow like it'll export as a stereo. And so if you did automation on a stereo track and you were routing that to a mono bus,
Right.
it might they might throw that warning up and be like, hey, you're trying to send 2 channels of information to 1 channel and you're
Right.
losing some information. That
Um,
might be it.
yeah, but I think, isn't it when you have a stereo track, you can see, you'll have 2.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, so that's not the situation. I'd be able
Mark,
to see it if it
real
was.
quick, Mark, I have done this before in Pro Tools, and I haven't done it for a little while. So, but if you go up in Pro Tools in the menu, and I'm not exactly sure where it is, if it's in the edit window or the track, I'm going to look at my Pro Tools. I won't share it, but I'm just looking. You can copy automation. It's a special copy,
Oh, okay.
and you can copy your
Well,
automation. And so what you have to do is, if there's automation on a certain, is the automation on the vocal track itself, or is it on the send?
it's on the vocal track itself.
But I
Okay,
think,
so it's clip gain automation.
well, Kimberly, I think the problem is though, you might be on the right path for a certain situation, but because he's got 3 vocal tracks and he's trying to send it to 1 bus, that would be 3 channels of automation.
True, that's true. Yeah, you can't. That would, yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think-
But so is it clip gain automation, Mark?
No, it's mostly volume stuff. So
Well, could you consolidate each track first then, and just print it with that automation in
yeah,
it?
we might end up having to do something like that. But I'm going to go back. I'll be back there today.
Yeah.
We sort of made that a stopping point, and I'm like, you know, okay, we had been working for several hours, and
Yeah.
sometimes you hit the wall, and I said, this is the wall. We'll just go back and I did a little bit of research last night, so I have some ideas on what to do, but I thought I'd toss it out here
Yeah.
to the opportunity. It's just never happened, and it's weird. And it's an old version. It's Pro Tools HD 8, so it's an older version of Pro Tools, and we're stuck in the environment for now, you know. So, you know.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've never the only time that I've ever had that, man, when does that window pop up? I've seen that before where it'll say, you know, you'll lose automation.
Right.
I'm trying to remember when that happens. Yeah, I can't really think of it because all the things that would I mean, I think I get it when I like try to delete that track or something like that, you know?
You know, and then I thought, well, did we create a mono bus by accident, and that was it? You know, after we shut down and everything, I started to reflect on it. I'm like, well, did we make a mistake? So it's possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you don't get it figured out, you know, bring it back. You know,
I
maybe
will.
even if you just take a picture with your camera or
I
phone,
will.
like that, yeah. Otherwise, if you do get it figured out, I'd be really curious because the Pro Tools is always throwing up little errors like that just make you scratch your head.
Right.
Yeah.
But besides that, I've been writing, and I've actually been helping these people for the past couple of weeks. They have like 14 songs, and
Nice.
I know. So that's been taking up a little bit more of my time. but a lot of the stuff I do have little jobs on the side, and some of that's falling by the wayside because people are home for
Yeah.
the virus. So oh well, it gives me more time. So
Yeah.
I'll have something to share soon of mine.
That's awesome. What role are you playing in? Because you said was it like 2 or 3 other people that are on this 14 song session?
Right, it's a band, and what happened? It's really sad. I don't want to make it, but the bass player who owns this studio, who's a good friend of mine, he died unexpectedly 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
So the band is who I played with years ago,
Yeah.
but they do world music, and it just wasn't my thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
they have to everything has to be sold, the studio, so we're trying to scramble and finish this 14 song that Colin had already done all this work on, but he didn't finish it.
Right.
And I know a bit about it because I worked in his studio over the holidays. That's where I recorded my friend.
Oh,
Or,
right.
Right. That's where I recorded Jack.
Right.
And so anyway, I'm trying to help them get their 14 track song. And it was, Colin had a pretty well mixed, and everything's in automation. And I've never been in that environment before. I've just never done it. But I've been figuring it out. So I'm helping them do final mix. There's a lot of cleanup that has to be done. And then the vocalist, the lady who sings, she's been there just doing her vocals, which is great. I don't have to mess with the vocals. And then I'll just get it prepared, and then we're going to hand it off. I think I'll be able to mix it, and then we'll hand it off to somebody to master, and then they'll have their CD, the swan song. It's kind of sad, but that's what I've been doing, guys.
Yeah, no, it is sad, but it's kind of cool to see the project kind of come together like that. Are you going, when you said that you'll do the final mix, are you going to take it out of the studio and bring it to your studio to do the mix, or you have to do everything there?
I have until March 30th, so I have 2 weeks. We've been doing it. We've been for the past 2 weeks, we've been working on it. So we're pretty far along.
Oh, good. Oh, nice. Well, yeah, definitely share those when you get, share a song or two. I'd just be curious to hear
to hear one of the songs. I am going to be put them up in disco so that the band can listen to it and give input and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's all acoustic. There's no MIDI.
Oh, right.
So it was all live recorded.
Very nice. And then lastly, you said, so that's taking up the majority of your time. What stuff are you working on your own? You said you were doing some songwriting. Is there anything specific that you're writing for, or are you just
just some songs I've been writing, a couple I've been writing for hopefully to put out there for sync. It's just stuff gets put on the back burner, and I just keep on going back to each one, so bit by bit.
Absolutely. Yep, that's how it has to be sometimes.
They're getting done.
That's nice.
Yeah, but it's pretty weird out there.
It is.
We ran out of paper towels, and I can't find them anywhere. So
yeah. I'll trade you that acoustic guitar for a roll of paper towel.
Yeah, that's about it. That's what'll happen, right?
I've got a guy.
Yeah.
I've got a paper towel guy that I go to.
Right.
Oh yeah. It is crazy.
Yeah.
Say something real quick.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to encourage you guys to, during this time, to take advantage of the quarantine. This is it's kind of a no-duh thing, but I've pledged for myself to write something totally new and just play with samples, loops, new instruments, virtual instruments, ideas, whatever, every single day with something just totally new for about an hour. And already it's just so much fun. It's a lot like what we did with the production playground. And I find myself more motivated to finish up songs that I've had sitting out there for a while. And finishing up 3 different songs right now,
Nice.
and it feels really good. But I just wanted to encourage you guys to, if you got to be stuck at home, before you turn on Netflix and binge watch another show that's going to give you nothing in return except some enjoyment, do something else. Consider trying out that new virtual instrument you bought on Black Friday. Consider finishing up a song or writing another verse or whatever. And to me, the key is not commit to saying, like, when you sit down and want to write, don't just sit down and say, hey, I got to finish this song today, or I'm going to write 2 verses for this song. You might, that's awesome. But what I would suggest doing is just sit down and say, I'm going to work on those 2 verses for an hour. You might get it done, but you might not. But it takes the pressure off of saying, I've got to hit this goal. Instead, you're just saying, I'm going to just focus on this for an hour. Give yourself an hour, give yourself 2 hours, whatever it is. Yesterday, my task was, I was just playing with those loops and samples from the Circles drum pack that Josh and I like a lot, and just seeing if it inspired anything. And it ended up inspiring me in a lot of ways, but it took me probably an hour and a half before I found something that I was really inspired by to make a song out of. But that wouldn't have happened unless I just stuck with it, playing. If you're anything like me, we approach music so often as a kind of a perfectionistic thing. Like, if I sit down and take some time to do this, it better be good, because I don't want to waste my time. And unfortunately, that rarely happens, even for the most experienced and best musicians and songwriters. The best work usually comes out of just doing it and not having that pressure of making a masterpiece. Just play with it. Just play with your ideas. Get creative. Give yourself permission to make a lot of mistakes and a lot of dumb stuff. I've got hundreds and not thousands, hundreds of ideas of just like the beginnings of songs, and I just save them off into different sessions. And I can go back every once in a while, I'll go back and just pull them up and see if there's anything good in there. And a lot of them are terrible. I mean, like dumb stuff. But at the time, it's what got me back into it. It got my juices flowing. And I think over the years, I've become less and less creative and less apt to just making mistakes, because I wanted my next song to be better than my last song. And I thought, well, everybody's going to be comparing anything I put out against the last thing they heard. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares. Like, literally, that's the pressure I'm putting on myself that nobody else is putting on me. And I'm so thankful for the production playground that we did last month. I guess was it January or February? February, I think. That really kicked me in the pants of living by what we've been preaching. We preach all the time about being creative and making a lot of stuff, but I wasn't really doing it very much myself. Yeah. And since that production playground, it really just taught me I have to fall back in love with the process of just making great music and collaborating with people. So I'm not sure if that encourages anybody, but I hope it does. I just want to encourage you guys to stop worrying about making something amazing. Just play. Just get in there and play. Set an hour aside each day and play and see what happens. All right. I'm going to step off my soapbox.
Yeah, that definitely resonated with me. I'm definitely guilty of not doing work if I don't think that I've got enough time, or, there's all these like excuses that you can give yourself of like why I shouldn't go over to the studio and start working on something. So I always have to kind of check myself on those excuses to see if it's like, are these like legitimate why I can't do it, or something else, Yeah. And then your point about the pressure of making something better than your last song. I swear, nothing ruins the potential for a good song than wanting it to be a good song,
Yes.
or like setting that bar of like,
Well said.
yeah, yeah. So many of the songs that I know that other people can relate to this. So many of the songs that I'm most proud of have just come from not setting any kind of like real expectation on it, Yeah. I mean, still trying to make the best that song can be, but never like trying to compare it to my last 3 songs, because that's setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, but I mean, there's kind of the other side of it though, which is whenever I think about that sort of topic, I think about Lennon and McCartney, and that they were constantly trying to compete with each other. Oh, well, if you're going to write a song like 8 days a week, well, I'm going to write a Hard Day's Night. I mean, they just this back and forth of trying to top each other. So that kind of comparison can be kind of helpful.
You know what's interesting about that, Ernest, though, is I feel like I never thought about this before. You're absolutely right that like having that kind of like friendly competition can be beneficial, but there's something about competing with yourself that never works. Like, there's something like, because most people that want to make great music or great art of any kind are usually like hypercritical of themselves, much more than their friend or co-writer is. Like
True.
McCartney was probably more self-critical of himself than he was of Lennon, and vice versa. So I kind of wonder if like, yeah, I think that Lennon McCartney friendly competition thing works, but I think it doesn't work when you're trying to compete against yourself, against your last song or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that competing with yourself I don't know that it can be done, because when you come from a creative process, each creation is a new creation. I mean, you can better a creation, but I don't know that you can constantly compete with yourself, but you can grow. And I think that's what I picked up from the production playground. And maybe it was in the triple threat lessons that I'm going through also, where Zion said that he wants us to step back and think about, instead of going and saying, I'm going to record this vocal, but have the mindset, I'm going to practice recording this vocal today. And I think about sports, athletics, and competitors, sports competitors, and how they train. And they're exercising the muscle and making the muscle stronger, but they can't compete with yesterday. I mean, they can't compete with themselves. They can only develop themselves. What would you compete with if you were competing with yourself? But I don't quite get that concept, but I do get developing a process. Like when I first started mixing, I couldn't hear a lot of the things in the mix. I couldn't hear what compression was doing or reverb was doing, or, if I was over compressing something, if my release time was too long or something like that, because I had nothing to compare it to within myself.
Right.
So I couldn't even begin to compete with myself, because I had nothing there. But now that I'm developing that process, I can hear things differently, and I can hear, oh yeah, I've got that guitar release set too long. It's muddying up this synth sound or something like that, but that was a development. I couldn't get there until I actually went through the process of developing that skill. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's a great point that you just talked about, Kimberly, about being able to recognize and almost troubleshoot during the process. Like a lot of times Zaina and I will talk about, the fact that as we're recording, as we're working in our DAW, we're kind of arranging, producing, and mixing all at the same time, right? We're kind of like building the track and making sure that the next layer that we're adding sounds good. And kind of what you were just talking about, where you were talking about, like if the compression, not being able to tell if the compression is like too heavy and how it's affecting the frequencies and things like that. It's that kind of thing that if you can't hear it and you let it go until the song's done, your mix is going to be so much harder to get right, because you weren't fixing those problems as you heard them, or when they were coming up. You were kind of not able to hear them, and then your mix is a mess at the end. You know what I mean? I think that's, we kind of got off topic of that, but you just made that point that I wanted to, yeah. Basically, I think the point that I'm trying to make is, the better your ears get as you're producing, as you're arranging your song, the easier it will be. You'll find that the mixes get easier at the end, because you've basically finished your mix by the time you've finished your song, that kind of thing. And then you're just kind of having fun at the end, just sweetening and things.
Yeah, get that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Also the point about the sports and competing against yourself. That's
It's, I mean, if that works for you, yeah. If that works for you to compete against somebody else or against yourself, I think it all comes down to your personality too. We got to take into account, we're all very different. We're going to be motivated differently. I'm probably more like Kimberly. I just need no pressure, no pressure on myself. I just want space and time to just play, and just have that space to just try things and see where my creativity takes me. And for some reason, that's way less intimidating to me to just go for it in that space. But yeah, Lennon and McCartney are pretty amazing songwriters, and they it's hard to compete against that.
I also think the competition thing is interesting. Like, I feel like that's why those Lennon and McCartneys don't happen very often, because, like, for instance, Zion and I have talked about how our musical styles are different. We come from different perspectives, and that's awesome. Like, we create our own sounds. But I think it would be difficult for Zion and I to, like, compete against each other in the same way that Lennon and McCartney did, because I feel like Lennon and McCartney had the same musical, like, DNA or something like that. They were like, you could never really tell when it was like a Lennon song. I mean, sometimes you can, but basically it wasn't. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, if you listen to like a 10-song Beatles album, it's not like it was song A and then something drastically different on song B because it was one of them wrote it and the other didn't. Like, they were able to, like, make this joint thing happen. And I think if you try to compete against somebody who is drastically different than you, then you would just get really frustrated, because, like, you'd be trying to compete against something that isn't really your path anyway. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they started out in the same band, so they obviously
Yeah.
had similar musical tastes. So
Right.
it does change a lot.
Yeah.
I'm curious, does anybody have any new gear that we can all go ooh about? I want to do some gear lust.
I do have new gear.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I just got it. I actually was not going to order it quite yet, but my husband went to look online for paper goods at Amazon, like everybody else. And he didn't realize this was in my cart when he pushed the buy button.
Nice. That's smart, Kimberly. I need to start doing that.
So I had been thinking about getting this, and so now I have it. This is the Zoom
Nice. Yeah.
HN1 portable recorder for sampling and songwriting.
Love it.
Whatever else I can, use it for. So I'm super stoked to have this little addition to my
stereo too.
It's got 2 mics. Yeah, I don't know that it's stereo. I think it's just. Do you think that's what those are for, or is it just for covering more, being more omnidirectional? I don't know. I haven't read a lot about it, only reviews. And I have a Tascam I think it's the DR08. It's the little 8-track recorder. but it's not so portable. And I have my phone, but I just thought, if you had a dedicated piece of equipment for just like recording stoplights when you're waiting there for it to change, like, Phineas did, or just whatever. Lots of people, so many people, Maggie Rogers, lots of sampling, going on and stuff like that. And I thought that's kind of cool, just a way to, make your songs your own, kind of, you design your own sounds or something like that. It doesn't have to be overkill. I can just do one, for a song or something like that. But I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool. Yeah, I like your idea of leaving things in the Amazon cart for somebody else to buy.
Yeah, that worked out pretty good. He didn't know he bought it. I was like, what this? He forgot to get the cover, though, the hard cover. So I have to go back and get that.
All right, I'll put that in his cart later.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome. I've actually heard really good recordings from those. Those, are surprisingly. I actually think Sem from our group, I think I remember him playing some like classical guitar recordings that he did, and I think he said that he used that. I could be wrong though. I might be making that up.
Okay. Well, I know we talked about it in one session, I think, or maybe I think I polled everybody in the Facebook group or something like that. So, but yeah, so Mark says, Mark Stone says 2 mics, it's stereo. So yeah, I guess it's stereo.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I don't think that I've bought anything. I bought software, but that's not fun.
I recently just pulled out, I was showing this to Josh the other day. This is it's called a Harmony. No, it's the Heritage guitar. It's like from what I understand, the makers of the Les Paul broke away from Gibson at one time and started a company and put out some guitars that were basically exactly Les Pauls, and they call it the Heritage. And I have one of them somehow because years and years ago, somebody traded an old camera I had for their guitar because I didn't think they wanted this guitar. And they later regretted their choice. But I did not give it back because it's awesome and it sounds great. So I am not a guitarist. So the marks in here are probably all laughing at me. But
I'm just digging that pick holder that you've got on there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I've never seen that before. I've got one on my keychain, but I've never seen one like that before. That's pretty cool.
I have not done anything to this guitar at all. This is just.
They're $1 on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Check that out.
So I'm learning some about guitars, and I'm just like diving into it and just dinking around with it. And I'm telling you, it's like, I think part of my intimidation with guitars has always been, I thought I had to do all these big like power chords and stuff to be a guitarist. And one of the things Josh taught me is to just use one string and just do some notes on it, and then layer another sound with it, and then layer another sound. And I'm just like, well, I can do that. I don't even have to know what key it's in. I just find the note and just kind of pick around. It's like as you would on the piano, just kind of picking around on it. And I'll eventually find something that sounds cool, and then I put like an 1/8 note delay on it, and it's like, oh, this works, man.
Yeah.
So thank you, Josh. And I've been adding some. I just finished a Christmas song, and so I've been adding some tremolo to after I record some chords. I just add some tremolo to it, and I'll post it in the group if you guys want to hear it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you reminded me of something that I forget. The idea of like doing like a simple like single note thing and like adding delay to it. There is a documentary, and I feel like somebody here is gonna know what I'm talking about. There's a documentary, and it's got Jack White, The Edge from U2, and somebody else. I feel like not Robert Plant, maybe somebody else. It's got like 3 kind of like guitar player legend people in it, and it's basically just them in a circle with their rigs. They've got them behind, and they're like just talking about playing guitar and like what their pedal setups are. Jimmy Page, yeah. And anyway, the thing that popped in my head is that there's a scene in there where the Edge from U2, who is known for doing like heavy delay guitar parts. He showed his guitar pedal setup with like the multiple delays and all the things happening, and he was like, he played it and it sounds, you know, like one of the U2 hits, and it's awesome sounding and everything. It sounds super complicated, lots of notes bouncing around everywhere. And he was like, and this is what it sounds like when you turn all my pedals off. And he's just going like ding, 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 and it's all the pedals doing all the work of like the, you know, the slap back delays and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a super simple part that he's playing, but because he used the delays and all the effects in the cool way, like that's the U2 sound.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Zion, when you first held up that guitar, I said, "Oh, that looks like a Gibson Les Paul," and so it's a nice looking guitar.
It basically is. It's heavier than shit too.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I have a Gibson Les Paul recording guitar. It's in a case back over here, but it's a 1971, and it's solid mahogany. I mean, that thing is, you know, I used to play it years ago, some out, but I just really use it for sitting here and picking and recording a little bit because it's too heavy to stand up. I can't hold that kind of weight for a 2-hour session anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Those things do weigh a ton. Oh, nice Epiphone. Yeah. Oh, wait, you've got a Les Paul Epiphone. Wait, is that what it said? Les Paul Epiphone
Ukulele.
What? I've never heard of that. That's crazy. That's awesome.
I got it at the ASCAP convention like 2 years ago. In their like new product section. Yeah, it's not really in tune right now, but it's a little ukulele, Les Paul ukulele.
That's hilarious.
$100. I was like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, and then I hired somebody to do some session work to play guitar, and then there was some ukulele in this track for this one song. And he shows up, and I've never seen anything else like this in my life, right? And he shows up with his guitar, and he's like, and by the way, if you want me to lay down some ukulele too, I brought my ukulele. It's pretty unique. And he pulls it out, and I had mine, and he had his. We had the exact same one. I was like, what is happening?
That's crazy. Did he also get his ASCAP?
What?
Did he also get his at the ASCAP Expo?
I don't think so. I think he worked for a company that had some connection with something. I think it was another random experience.
That's funny. That's awesome. That's the coolest ukulele I've ever seen.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. Oh, and it's electric, of course.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool now. Yeah.
Yeah. Because my other one's acoustic, and I always have to like rig up a mic here and then rig up a mic here to do anything live, you know? So this is like, I'll plug it in. Yeah.
Next time you record it, I'd love to hear it soloed. Like, I've never heard an electric, because it's nylon string, right?
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what that sounds like.
Okay.
Plugged in sometime. That's super cool.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I did try to do it plugged in, and there was like no room sound. It was really dry, actually. It was like just the notes. Yeah. And so I didn't know enough about production at the time to like make that sound cool.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that maybe I will do that. That sounds interesting. I'll play with that.
Yeah. Rob.
Sorry, Zion, I didn't mean to step on your Les Paul thunder.
I know we all like gush over Katie's $100 uke.
Sorry, Zion, your guitar is super cool.
No, it's okay.
I already gushed over the guitar. Zion had showed it to me last week.
Well, now Zion's guitar will gently weep. That's all.
Oh, nice.
Boom.
I wanted to say that Rob Schaefer, where is it now? He said, oh, it's that documentary is called It Might Get Loud. That's if anybody's curious about it. Yeah. Very nice. All right, we got anything else before we close up shop? We good? All right, kids. You guys stay safe out there. Don't touch your face.
Too late.
Oh, All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye.